Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Tara. I make videos about digital planning and different ways that you can get creative with your iPad. So if that sounds like something that's of interest to you, feel free to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so that you never miss a video. It's so interesting saying that to a camera, where before I've always done these top-down, like aerial view kind of um, yeah, videos. So you've never really seen my face. So getting used to like saying that to the camera is kind of fun. Anyway, without wasting too much time, this is part two. This is a continuation of my font making video that I did 3 days ago. So we did a live stream and got a font started. We're using the app iFontMaker. You can download that from the App Store. It is $7.99, but I think it's totally worth it. It absolutely pays for itself. If you are joining live, feel free to come hang out. That's cool. I don't mind at all. But if you did not watch part one, I go over a little bit more about the program itself and the tools and features that are in it. And so if you aren't familiar with iFontMaker yet, you might want to watch part one first because we're not going to spend too much time diving into all of that today. We're just going to get right back into trying to finish the lowercase letters today, the symbols, any extra like Latin characters, and the numbers. And then we'll start finalizing the font. Hopefully, I'm thinking today's live is going to be closer to like an hour and a half if I want to complete all of that. For me, generally, when I make a handwritten font, creating the actual characters does take me, I would say, probably somewhere between 1 and 3 hours, just depending on how detailed I'm making it. And then the kerning process, which is finalizing all of the spacing between all of the letter pairings, can take me up to 10 hours. It's a very lengthy process, but we're not going to get that in depth with it. We're just going to go through and do what's here on the app and just do the best that we can with the app. It does have limitations, not using a professional one, but yeah, I mean, I think 10 might be an exaggeration, but it really depends on the font. So I like to give myself like plenty of time, but sometimes I can make an entire font from start to finish in 10 hours. But I've also had fonts, especially script fonts, which take a little bit longer, that have taken me 40 hours to do, but those are way more in-depth processes. So with what we're doing today, this font, I would say, is probably one that's going to take me probably somewhere between 8 and 15 hours total, because I'm sure I'm going to go in after this and I'll put it into my professional program and like start all over again. But I'm not going to start all over again, but I'll start all over again with the kerning. But I'm not going to take you guys on that whole journey. We will do everything that we're going to do in this program today, and we're just going to do as much as we can in the hour and a half that we have. And I think that should be enough to get you guys through to do whatever you want to do with a font. Um, yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that, I guess, as we're doing the kerning, going through that whole process. So for now, I will switch over and start sharing my screen so you guys can see. Let's see what I'm doing with that. And maybe, yeah, there we go. Okay. The font that we started working on is this one here. So I'm just going to reopen that file. And we already did all of the uppercase letters, as you can see. So let's start with the lowercase ones. So for consistency, I'm going to go through and do a very similar thing to what I did before, where I took the angle, whatever stem I had at whatever angle, and I kind of like pasted it throughout everything just to make sure that it was, yeah, consistent, that everything was like going at the same angle. We're going to do that for the lowercase as well. So I'm going to make two stems. The first thing we're going to do is I'm going to come to the B and we are going to paste this. And that one is the right height. I can take this all the way up to the ascender line. We talked about that before. I feel like my guides may have gotten adjusted. because I feel like I would like to change my ascender so that it's not so far above my cap height. So let me come back to the thing that looks like layers on the far right. And this is how we're going to adjust our guides. Maybe I just don't remember. Maybe I didn't do that right before. But I'm going to bring this down because I really don't want there to be a massive difference between the cap height and the ascender. I really don't like when it extends so much higher than the rest of the font. Just a personal preference. Sometimes I will just use the cap height line for my ascender personally. But what that does is that also drops my descender line down at the bottom, down a little bit. So my like lowercase y's, g's, p's, those letters are gonna be a little lower down now. So just something to keep in mind. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna come back to all of the all the lowercase letters that have this stem. And I am just going to I think we're just going to extend this up and try not to change that angle at all. And then what I'm going to do is I'm also going to come to my A and I'm going to paste this. We're going to get to this one in a little bit. And the same with, let's do it for, let's say, what's one of these? How about the P? We'll put it for the P. We're going to come back to these later, but I actually will just drop this one down. I want it to go down to my my descender line. And I can also shorten this a little bit, but again, I just want to make sure that I'm keeping that angle the same. It's really easy to nudge it a little to the left or to the right, so just try to be really careful to keep it consistent. If you messed it up, you can always just undo it and redo it, or if you want to double check, you can just paste that line again, and then just make sure that this looks like it lines up, and it looks like that was perfect. So I am just gonna delete that one that I just pasted on top. We're all good. All right. So, I do want to see, is my X height right? Should be. Am I happy with it, really? I think I am. I just wanted to kind of give a quick look there. Uh, so I feel like I keep saying and I sound very obnoxious. So my apologies. But we're just going to copy this now that I've got it where I want it, and we're going to add it to anything that's going to have that higher ascending stem. So we're going to paste it here for the D, and you can move it while you're in this tool, but there's no way to like keep it in line, which is one of my biggest frustrations. I think I mentioned this in the last video. I wish there was sort of like a magnetic tool that would keep it in line. If somebody knows that this program does that and I haven't figured out how to do it, like how to turn that setting on or something, please let me know. But to my knowledge, it doesn't have it. So what you can do instead um, is actually, I had an idea. I was thinking I could just move it this way, but that doesn't solve the problem. So forget I said anything. We're going to come back to the like cursor, the little move tool here, or the transform tool. And we are going to just zoom in, and you can, I don't know if you guys can see the grid all that well on here. I think it shows up a little better for me than it does in this recording, but this is how I'm going to make sure that this is in the right spot. So I can see underneath this grid, there's like, I would say in this block below the baseline, there's like, I don't know, maybe it goes about 75% of the way of that first little square in that grid. It's super faint, so I don't know if you can tell, but that's going to be my guide for doing this the best that I can. So we're just going to drag this over and we're going to zoom in and just try to make sure it's about 75% of the way down. That's, yeah, a little trial and error. The other thing would be, I actually do think that the top was maybe slightly more aligned. So let's check our work here. We're gonna paste this. And I would say these are pretty similar. Yeah, I think that little nudge was all I needed. So yeah, you can line it up perfectly if you want, if that's going to be easier for you. And then what I'll do is for any of the ones that have the stem on this side, I can use the D, and any that are on the other side, I can use the B. I realized my camera's reversed, so flip my hand motions. Okay, so the next one's going to be an H, so copying this one from the B is going to be fine. So we're just going to paste that. And let's go through and check these ones. So the K will also be a good one to use from the B. It's on the left side. I'm going to use the stem from the M, or from the A for the M and the N. And then, see, the P and the Q are good. We'll use the T. That'll be good for this one. And nope, that looks like it for that. So let's come to our D. And actually, let's come to our F. We're going to paste this one for the F. It's going to be similar to the T. We'll adjust it in a minute. And then let's come to our A, and let's just bring this stem down. Now, if you're worried about taking like one of the nodes and dragging it down, then you might end up having an issue with, again, with it moving. So if you're worried about that, instead, tap on one of these nodes. Did that nudge it? Yeah, it nudged it. So I just undid it. We're going to tap on this node again. And we're going to tap on the little slash mark, and that's going to add an extra node. So then I can come up to this one and just close out of it. You could also, if it went down too far, you can just try your best just to move it on up and keep things as consistent as possible. I wish that you could just kind of like tap and add a stroke more easy, or add a node more easily, but unfortunately it doesn't seem to do that. So we're just going to delete that top one now that we've got this one. And we are going to drag this over. Again, just trying to keep it at like I said, like 75% of the way down here. And now I have my stem for anything that needs something a little more lowercase. So I do also want to check how far up does the one on the P go. Again, we want this stuff to be as consistent as possible. So that's a little more than halfway above the X height. You can do it again exactly to that line, but because I have this little style for this one where everything just slightly passes those lines, I want to keep it consistent between the uppercase and the lowercase. So this is just like a personal style choice. So it's okay for me if my stems extend a little bit longer, but any of the curves, like the curve in the P, is going to go to that cap height. So I'm going to follow that same rule when I go to like my A and my G and all of these other letters. The curved part is going to go up to that specific line, but I'm okay with the stem of the letter just extending like ever so slightly beyond that. Again, style choice, just make it intentional. Okay, so we're going to come back to this one. And I'm just going to copy this A, and let's see where else this would go. So it's going to go on the I for sure. The M, I said. And what I might do for the M is possibly paste it like 3 times. And I'm just going to move it over. Again, trying to keep everything in line. And I'm not quite sure how wide I want it to be, but can kind of use what's here. Obviously, this one will end up coming down. And I might not even end up using these. These might just be a guide for me to like write over for the M, but we'll see. I'm also going to copy all of these and let's paste them for our N. and then I will delete this one. And let's copy this one again and just see, are there any other letters where this is going to be useful? So our R, and then it won't really work for our V, our W, our X, kind of like how we ran into those issues with the uppercase letters. So it'll be very similar. Just taking a quick look here. I feel like that's pretty good. Do you know what I realized? I forgot to do the L. So let's copy this one from the K and paste this to our L. And then, yeah, I think we're getting somewhere. So next up is going to be these ones that have the descending lines. So we've got our P. We can copy this and we can paste it for our Q. And remember, it goes like about halfway up. Let's just double check. I think it needs to go down just a hair. Okay. Yeah, I think that works. Um, let's try this one for the Y, but I reserve the right to change that if I want to later. We'll see how it plays into the rest of the font. We'll see. Um, Okay, we won't do our numbers just yet. I think it's time to start doing some of the fun stuff. But let's see. Okay, so for the letter J, I am going to paste that line again, and I'm going to write one on top. So with the brush tool, I'm just going to write this and then kind of curve it. And we'll see how that works too. But as long as it looks pretty similar to the J or the other line that I have here, so you can see there's like a slight difference, but that is, I think that's okay. You can be really particular if you want to and try to make the angle exact, but you don't have to get it exactly perfect. But I think that'll do. We might make some changes later that end up causing it to change a little bit anyway, but we'll see how it plays with the rest of the font. That should be pretty good. So I'm going to delete that. And then I'm going to copy this and we're going to paste it for our G. Keep in mind, you could also do a Y like this, a Y that has, you know, the little swoop at the bottom. And so maybe that's what I'll decide that I want instead of doing a straight line. But yeah, again, it's a choice. So whatever you want to do. And now we'll go ahead and do more fun stuff. So let's get into like the circle part for our A. So just remember that I said that I wanted to make sure that this stayed, basically hit that line that I set for it. These are the guides. You can adjust the curve if you want to, but I actually think it's pretty good. And then what you can do is you can copy this, and this will be great to use for our D. So just move that. That's perfect. We'll use it for our G. You can paste that again, and then we just might have to move it over a little bit, but it's pretty good. All right. Can use this for our O as well. Just see if we like it. I think I'll keep it for now. I'll see how it plays with the rest of the font, but I think it should be good. And then let's see, is there anything else? We can put this here for the C, and then we can adjust the nodes a little bit. So what we'll want to do is keep that one there. See if I can grab onto the bottom one. It won't really let me. So I'm going to drag this down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste this back on top, and we're going to grab the one that's underneath. So just tap on and tap off and tap on. And I'm just going to try to copy that shape. I want to keep it pretty consistent the best that I can. And we're going to come back up here and bring this one down. Maybe bring it in a little bit. And it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but it, you know, it will help us when we're spacing everything out later, the more consistent this is. So I'm just gonna delete that. We'll see if I don't like that shape or not. Like I don't know if I like that the top of the C comes out so much further than the bottom, but there is definitely, like, I try to keep as much of a system as possible when I'm making fonts, but it really is like an artistic choice. So you can scribble everything if you want to. You can, I mean, ultimately, this is your font. And if you're making your first font right now, you might not be as particular as I'm being at all. But I did want to make sure I was kind of showing you guys some of the best practices that I've found in making a consistent handwritten font, which is why I'm taking my time and I'm really doing this like, well, but I could have scribbled all of these. But I don't know. I definitely just think like I don't know, maybe I'm being too nitpicky, I guess, but I think I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it to take your time. And I don't remember the point that I actually wanted to make, unfortunately, but um yeah, I do think that copying these and, pairing them throughout is a good way to get yourself a nice consistent font. Okay, so we are going to draw a line here and then we need to connect these. So that'll do. It is making me question things a little bit more, but we will see. One thing I want to do is grab this one from the N. We're going to copy this and paste it to our H. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw this shape, and I'm just going to kind of do what I did before. I have one too many nodes here, so I'm going to delete that one. I just want the one on the top, I want the one on the side here, and the one on this side. And I'm just going to line this stuff up. I'm going to take this node. You can see how the arm on the right, let me zoom in, is shorter. I want to drag that out. And now I can play around with this and get a little bit more control over that shape. I could even move this a little more central. And yeah, playing with these control arms is obviously something that does take time getting used to it, but I definitely know that you can do it. I have complete faith in you guys. I didn't know how to do it before either. All right. I think that looks good. So now this is actually the one I want to copy and bring over to my N. So we'll just delete this and paste it. And then I just want to make sure that this lines up nicely here. So I am just going to nudge that. And I think that looks good. Let's drop one of these in here. Perfect. I'm going to delete the center one, and I might paste another one, and then we're just going to drag it over and just try to keep everything in line. And I can delete this one. And let's just check if that M is good. It's pretty good. There's a little spot here that doesn't really line up. So I'm just going to move it over just a little bit. Looks so much better. I'm happy with that. We are getting somewhere. Okay. Now let's take the circle from the A, copy it, and let's bring it over here to our B. and I'm gonna paste 2 of them. So the reason for that is I'm going to take on the left side, I'm going to take the red box. I'm just gonna move it over. And I think I'm gonna regret that. Maybe we'll rotate it. Yeah. So I'm using the little bar that's in the center, the red bar. It looks like an upside down like lollipop or something. And that's what I'm using to rotate it. And we're gonna drag this over here. And then we need to tap on the one that's underneath and delete that. Yeah, so this will make it like the mirror of what the A was. It just needs to come down just a little. Maybe I should have moved the whole thing down a little, but that's good. So now I can copy this and we can use this on the P. Just gonna paste it there. We'll take this one that was the O, which is the same as the A. We're gonna paste this one on our Q. And then just move it over ever so slightly. I'm gonna take this curve for the N. We're gonna copy it and we can paste it to our R. And then I can add in like another node. So tap that slash mark and we can delete this one on the bottom. And then you can decide if you want to adjust this a little bit, but I actually think that that looks pretty perfect. So I'm going to leave that there. And I don't know, I'm feeling pretty good here. What I want to do now is I'm going to copy all here for this N. Let's bring it over to our U, because a U is really just like an upside down N. So we're going to paste this, and then we're going to try to rotate it. So it can be a bit of a challenge. So you could try to use this gesture scale and rotate, but unfortunately, like once you try to rotate it, there's definitely a chance that you might change the size of it. So what I'm gonna do is take 2 fingers and try to rotate it. I'm gonna try one more time. Nope. Okay, if you pinch, or not pinch, but if you take 2 fingers in the center of the N without touching any of the letters, it should help you rotate it. So you might have to try a couple times. And what I might do, just to try to make it as consistent as possible. Oh my gosh, can you guys even hear me? Tell me you can hear me. Okay, I didn't plug my microphone in. How did I do that? How bad is the audio? Oh no. Where's my microphone? Hello? How did I forget my microphone? Goodness me. Okay, I'm gonna try to plug it in right now. I can't even imagine how bad the audio is. I know people don't like to stick around when there's bad audio. Ugh, what a disappointment. All right, let's see. This has got to be so much better. I feel like I should start over. I will eventually edit this and do like a voiceover recording anyway and make like a proper cut video on this platform, but I can't believe it. I'm so sorry. Okay. What a bummer. We're back. Okay, so what I'm going to do actually is I am going to take this N and I'm just going to grab this stem here and I'm going to copy this and we are going to paste it. And I just want to make sure I got the angle of everything right. So I'm just going to drag this over. It looks like when I rotated it back, I did a pretty good job. but it is slightly off. So what I'm going to do is I'll probably just replace this stem. So I'm going to take the other one. Which one was it? I am going to delete this stem and move this one over. And I think because luckily it was so close that I'm not really all that worried about the first part of the U. Okay. I can't believe I forgot my microphone. Okay, this feels pretty good to me though, so I'm content with that. Let's grab let's grab this from the E. We're going to copy that and bring it over to our T. We'll paste it. And I don't know, do I want it that low, or I think I will bring it up here. So that's fine. We're going to have it at the X height line. What I'm going to do is copy our X here. So we're going to copy all and come to this X. And we're going to paste it. And then I'm just going to tap each of these and just drag them down so that they are at that X height line. I'll probably do the same with the W. So we'll give that a go and see how we like it. And I think I'll do it with the V too. So just taking each of these pieces down to the X height line. And if I feel like it ends up being too wide, then I can change that. I think that's a little bad. I don't like that for the W. I did mention W's. I haven't quite figured out the system for W's. We're going to bring this one over and then move this over. And we're going to move this over. And I think just, I don't know, play around with it until you kind of like the shape a little bit more. And let's take our V here and we're going to copy all. I'm just going to paste that. And again, just bring these down. And yeah, that angle is just not going to work for me, so we're just going to bring these in. Yeah, that's definitely better. I'm going to copy this piece and we're going to paste it on our Y. See if we can keep that angle the same maybe. For the S, we're going to do the same thing we did with the other letters. We're just going to copy this. We're going to paste it here and bring it down. And then you might find yourself, bringing it in as well. I think that looks good. And then we'll do the same for our Z. So let's copy all here. Let's paste it. I'm gonna bring this Z straight down as best as I can. Gonna bring this down, just try to keep that angle pretty much the same. And because it doesn't need to be quite as big, I'm just gonna draw these in a little bit. So bring that side in a little, this side in a little. Just want to generally keep it as much the same as I can, right? Remember, like, consistency is really helpful. For the K, we're going to start here, and then I'm still going to try to do this little swoopy bit. So let's copy this and paste this here. And maybe I will use that to guide the placement of the first part of the K here. And I think that works. So let's see, we still have to do our F, the dots for the I and the J, and then we'll move on to our symbols. and some of our other like Latin characters and stuff. Our numbers, our symbols, and our Latin characters. But we're getting somewhere. We're in pretty good shape here. This makes me quite happy. I think this is going to be a really cute font. Okay, so for the F, we definitely want to make sure that we are adding in another node. And I'm going to add in another one just for good measure. And I'm going to move this top one over and grab this control arm, and I'm going to drag it over to the left. So this is going to allow me to kind of like swoop out that curve and just fix it. And we can bring the F up to that ascender line. And I'm just carefully moving this. Again, if you don't want it to be this perfect, you just want to go for that like really handwritten look, then you can definitely just kind of scribble it and write it in there. I showed you guys last time how my first fonts looked, and honestly, like, they sold. I mean, people like that look. I've just gotten a lot more into trying to make them a little bit more professional, so I do spend a little bit more time, but people enjoy the really kind of natural, free-flowing, handwritten look, I think, especially when it comes to doing digital planning, because we get so like wrapped up in this whole like digital world that being able to kind of make things look more analog, to look more handwritten, less robotic, it just feels, I don't know, like that's to me that's the appeal of digital planning and creating digital art, is like, I don't know, trying to blend the worlds of analog and digital and not just being like full on digital and robotic. So personal, I guess that's my own personal take. Yeah, I think this could work. Looks pretty good to me. I'm going to take the crossbar from the T, and we're just going to copy it and paste it over here on our F. And that's perfect. And then we need to do the dots for our I and our J. And then we can move on to our symbols. So I will say I don't like using any of these brushes to make the dot, because you can't really do it, to be honest. Like you can't tap, you have to like draw. Like tapping doesn't work. I don't know if you can hear me tapping on the screen, but I'm tapping and nothing is showing up. So you have to like actually like pull a little bit, and then you could come in here and grab the nodes and try to like just match it perfectly. You can do that. It'll do. But what I prefer to do is I like to come back to my brush, and instead I will come down here to this little dot and I'll come over to whatever letter, like for example the I here, and I'm going to undo all those because I just touched my screen and anyway it got crazy, but I'm just going to tap, and now I've got my dot. It's a lot simpler to just use the dot. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it to the J and just move it over a little bit. I try to keep it the same height if I can, so I might paste one more time and just kind of see how close I was. So we're just gonna zoom in, and it is pretty close. I'm gonna move it down only like a teeny tiny bit. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then we'll delete this one. So we've got our J. And then what I can do is come to like where I know I'm going to need one of these, since it's already in my clipboard. I need it for that. I need it for my period. I'll need it for my semicolon. I will need it for my colon. So let's come here. This is a period. So we're just going to paste this. And I'll come back and like move these around, but I just want to make sure that I have them here. So we're going to paste this one twice. We are going to wait to paste this one because I'll use the top of the semicolon, or the top of the colon for that one. We need it for the question mark. And we will need it later for some of symbols. So
I will wait without getting too ahead of myself. But let's go ahead and let's take this O, and I want to use it to help with the 0, but I want some differentiation. So I'm going to paste it, and then I'm just going to drag one of the sides in. So we're going to make it a little bit more narrow for our 0. And then realistically, I'm probably going to keep, well, let's keep it the same as the I instead of the L. So we're just going to copy this, our 1, right? Because I want it to go to the cap height and not to the ascender line. So that's why we're using that 1. And then let's see what other numbers would use it. So the 7 could use it, and the 4. Okay, we will also need this for our exclamation mark, but we're just going to end up dragging this up, trying to stay as consistent as possible with that angle. And I can drag this down now. If you're not sure if you stayed consistent, I mean, I think you know by now what to do. So if I'm worried, I can paste that on top, and it looks to me like the angle's good. So I'm just gonna, we're just gonna delete that. Okay. I also think we'll use that. Maybe we'll use it for the percentage sign. We'll find out. And probably for our pound symbol, our hashtag, and also for the $sign. And you can do 2 lines or 1. This is a stylistic choice here. And I'll paste it for my slash. And I don't know, it probably will end up getting more angled for the percentage and the slash marks, I think. It usually does, but we'll use this as a starting point for our bracket as well. And again, we'll use it for this symbol. So I'm just kind of going in and I'm checking out all of the characters, and if I see any spot that it feels like I can use this, I'm pasting it in there, again, just for consistency. And of course, you can always go back and do it like 1 by 1, but for me, it's a time saver to try my best to do it like all in advance. And because I've made enough fonts, I kind of know like, okay, I'm gonna probably use it for this one, I'll use it for this one. So I do tend to get it going and start pasting ahead of time instead of doing it letter by letter. But of course, you can do it letter by letter if that's easier for you, or character by character. Okay, one other thing that I'm going to do as a visual guide for the angle is I am going to paste this here, and it's just going to kind of help me, I don't know, keep in mind how I want to draw my letters. So I'll actually paste it twice and just kind of move it to either side of the shape. And then I know that my 2, for example, needs to stay inside of that angle and just kind of look consistent there. And I'm going to adjust with my nodes just a little bit so it lines up with that line down there. I might also just move this down. I think that that is a cute number. I'm going to go ahead and why don't we just copy all here? And then I will delete this and delete this one. We'll come to our 3. We're going to paste it and delete this. And let's go ahead and draw our 3 in and just kind of, again, try to keep it in there where it like makes sense. I'm feeling like this doesn't make as much sense the way that I wrote it, so I'm just gonna bring these curves in a little bit and maybe bring this top one out. Let's see. Sometimes you run into issues where you're trying to like see a node and you can't because this pop-up menu keeps getting in your way, so you might have to zoom in a little bit like I just did in order to be able to see that node, but I think that looks good. Let's delete this. I'm going to come back over here and paste this for the 4. Again, delete this. Drag one of these over. And then you can decide, do you want your 4 to be one of those ones that is closed, like that looks very triangular, or do you want something a little more open? And I want to see, so like, I'm kind of following, well, right now, the 3 here, where the center of it is, it's not at my X height, and it's also not where the E is. So I have to make a decision. Do I want it down further, like in my capital letters, like that? I do think that I like that a little better, but you can also decide that you want that to be at your X height there. So just figure out, where you want it. And you can always take one of those pieces from one of your other fonts and just or one of your other characters, and then just paste it and see, okay, that's how far down that has to go. Is that how far down my E was? Let's delete that. Do I like that? Actually, I kind of do. Let's see. It's a little different, but it's going to give it a little personality. So I think that'll work. And what I'll do is just paste that here as well, so I can kind of use that. And we're just going to draw a line that connects these two. And I'm going to delete that center node just so it's a little more straight. Then again, I did have, some swoopier lines in some of my other letters, so I could bring in that stylistic choice. Let's delete these. Actually, let's undo those and keep those there. We're gonna copy all, and then we'll delete these. I'm gonna try to use those guides again for the 5. So I know I don't need this one, but I will drag this over. And just move that. Yeah, just kind of bring this up. It's gonna help me think a lot in this shape. We're gonna draw that one, and the 5 can come up a little bit, but I want it to kind of start at that lower point. So I'll delete this. And some of you doing this for the first time might have just zoomed through the entire alphabet just because you want to get a feel for it. And that's totally okay. Like I said, that's really what I did the very first time. But if you do want to kind of see the whole process that I usually take when I'm trying to, I don't know, like I said, make it look really professional, this is what I do. So if you really do want to do like a basic font, you can skip a lot of this, but you might want to come back. So I would rather give you more information rather than not enough. And so, yeah, you absolutely can rush through this and just make a font just so that you can make a font. But then you might want to come back and do what I did with my very first font, which was I decided that I wanted to take what I had and clean it up. And so then I started to apply some of these principles, and then I turned it into a font that, like I said, became my very first ever best-selling font. So let's delete this and just take a look. Do we like this 5? Does it work? I think it works. It's not my favorite character, but, oops, didn't mean to do that. I tapped the outline button, which you can do. I'm going to see how this looks if I bring it up. So that it starts where the other ones start, where like my capital letters have their crossbar. But then the whole arch comes all the way up to where my X height is, so it brings it a little bit of continuity. Oh, thank you. My handwriting, I'll see if I can remember how to pop this up on the screen. I don't know if I can. How do I do it? I liked it. That was, oh, add to broadcast. Yes. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. That's very sweet. However, this is not my natural handwriting. So if you want to go back and watch how I made this from like beginning to end, you definitely will probably see that there was a lot of changes being made. So this is not my natural handwriting, but thank you. That's very sweet. Okay. Now what we're gonna do is, again, let's paste all of that mess that I had here as my guide. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete these two. And we're going to try to follow that angle, to a degree. And I think I'm going to kind of do what I did before, where I want this to ultimately come up to the X height, but maybe where it connects back is going to be where the other letters have their crossbars. And I'm going to delete this extra node. You don't have to do that, but I'm going to. And then I'm going to zoom in since it's being a little bit of a pain. And then I will drag that out to give it a more round appearance. I need to bring this one down to the cap height since I don't have them going up to the ascender line. And yeah, I think that meets what I want. So let's delete the extra guides here. And just make sure that I'm happy with that. I think that'll work. It does have a little bit of a connection point issue. So I undo those two strokes. And I'm just going to move this over a little bit just to make it so that there's not that lack of smooth connection there. All right, let's move this over. And let's just draw a line here. And it's really messy, so I'm going to delete some nodes and just come clean this up. This is a really good way to start practicing playing with nodes. They can be a really big pain. I would say this program and Affinity Designer are great ways if you want to start trying to play with nodes. I find it's a lot easier to play with nodes if you're using an Apple Pencil than like a mouse on a computer screen. So yeah, Affinity Designer is what I use to make all of my stickers. I actually teach a whole course on how I make my digital stickers, and I try to make vectors as friendly as possible because vectors can be very intimidating and working with these nodes can be very intimidating. But it is really helpful using your Apple Pencil and drawing things out, and that gives you, over time it gives you more confidence working with these nodes and handling the control arms. It doesn't happen overnight, I will say that, but practice makes perfect, and I know you can do it. So definitely recommend it. I think that this 7 is a little bit too long at the top here, so I'm just going to bring this in a bit. None of my other letters numbers are quite that wide. I will say the 8 is the one that gives me the most trouble. Like I hate making 8s. 8s and W's, they're like the bane of my existence. I really don't like them. But let's see what we can do here. So I am going to, again, paste all those guides. They're just going to help me kind of visualize what I'm doing here. And we're just going to keep that crossbar, so that's where the bottom of our 8 is going to go. This is going to be super crazy. All right, let's see. How bad is this going to be? It's not terrible. This could work. Maybe I will take that top part of the 8 and have it go up to that ascender line, just so long as the top of the curve for the 8 does not. I want to smooth this a little bit, so just going to play with these nodes here a little. Might zoom in if they're giving you trouble so you can control them a little more easily. There we go. Is this a good angle for this? I think if I move this maybe a little bit. Yeah, and we just kind of play with those. I think that works. But let's delete these and just take a quick look. I think this works. I'm content with this, so let's go ahead and keep going. I don't usually do this, and this might not stick, but we're going to try it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this shape here. We're going to paste it, and we're going to do that same like rotation rule. So actually you can just take the little, because this is only one stroke, thankfully, we can just take that little bar that was in the center there, and we can just paste that 9. It's not a bad 9. Let's see. I almost never do this because I like for it to, I don't know. I feel like I like for it to have that separate stem, but I actually kind of think that this works. Let's remove this one because now I'm happy with the angle. I don't know what you guys think. I can work with this, I think. I don't hate this 9. What I do want to fix though is this 6 just needs to come down a little bit there. Okay, this space, there's nothing here. This is your space. And then we've got some little symbols here. So we're going to do our quotation marks. And it's up to you, like how big or how close together you want these, whatever you think is going to work with your font. I am going to stick with that. I think that looks good. We're going to copy all. And I generally keep these pretty much the same. So you could make them more like curved, like these quotation marks are. You can differentiate them. I tend to keep them the same because I often keep mine straight. But if you wanted to curve them, you can of course do that too. So again, stylistic choice. For me, I'm going to keep these like this. Okay, the dreaded ampersand. Oh, there's a lot of characters that I really don't like. I don't like doing. I think what I might do is I might just bring the 8 over for moral support. They're not the same, but of course you can see how they kind of... How did I get to the ampersand? That was my bad. I skipped other ones. We'll come back. So I'm going to move this over. Like I said, it's here for moral support because the shape has some like similarities, you know? So I think what I might do, actually, let's just move it back over there. What I might do is draw with our brush. Good tip, good tip. Let's grab onto this and just take a look. Is there anything that I feel like I need to adjust? I don't know. I think this is pretty good. Pretty good. All right, let's delete that 8. This will work. I'm happy with this. Okay, so now for this one, I'm gonna copy these. I skipped some, I need to go back to them. We're gonna paste, and we're gonna delete this one, and paste, and do the same. Just delete, and then paste, and delete. Okay, let's come back to these ones. I already pasted this one twice, so we're just going to move that over. Let's grab one of these crossbars and just come down and paste it. And we're gonna drag it, let's drag it to the X height there. And then let's copy this one and paste it. This is gonna tell us how low I want it to go. And I'm gonna copy and paste this one again too. And then we're just gonna move it down right there. All right, now let's try to grab the small one. If it'll let me. Can I? Can I grab the little small one? Good, okay. And then I might just kind of nudge it over so it goes with the angle. Okay, again, happy with this. I think this works. For the $sign, I am going to steal my S. So we're going to move this more central. And we're going to copy our S. And bring it over to the $sign. We're going to paste it. And then I think I will extend this up and down. Yep, that'll do. Okay, now for the % sign. I think I have to change the angle of this. I guess I don't have to, but I feel like it would be better to. Let's just move this over. And then, I don't know. This, again, stylistic choice. Some people just use, like, dots. Sometimes it's generational. Some people like to have it, like, connected and have these circles drawn. It's a handwritten font, so express yourself however you want to. I think what I'm going to do is probably connect them because I like that, but only connect the top one. Sometimes people connect the top and bottom. Whatever you want to do. This is what my heart is telling me. This is what I'm going to go with. I think that looks pretty good. I might just nudge this one in just a little bit. Yeah. That is a % sign to me. I think that looks great. Okay, parentheses. We're getting places. I'm getting so excited. Okay. I get so happy as I start to like finish up a font because we are definitely nearing the end here. So then we'll start to actually configure the font. I do want my parentheses here to go to my ascender line and all the way down to my descender line. So I'm just going to delete that one node and just clean that up a little bit. I think this is perfect. And I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it here, but I'm not going to love this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste this twice. This is also another feature that I wish this app had that it doesn't, is that you could just flip something. But the only thing that you can do to flip is like take the red box, the bounding box here, and like actually flip it. You can also do the same like that way, where you flip it from top to bottom. So that's kind of what I'm going to do. I'm going to line up this bottom, like the bottom of the parentheses with this top one here. And what I'm going to do is also try to get the width the same. So this is where zooming in can help. The furthest part of the side of the parentheses, like of this shape, I can see on this grid that's super faint, and I can just try to do my best to put this in that same spot. Okay. And then I'm making sure the bottom of these are perfectly aligned. And then the next thing that I want to do is see how far out the top of this parentheses goes. And I'm just going to move this inward. So it's just a little bit past that guide. And this basically gives me like a mirror image of that character. So just delete the extra one that I don't need there. And then here we have our asterisk. Whoops. So I'm just going to zoom in. And I don't know about you guys, but just like one of my favorite things, hey May, welcome. One of my favorite things to do, if you guys have ever purchased my fonts before, you probably know this, but instead of doing like an actual star or asterisk, I like to make a star. So I'm going to show you how I do that. So typically what I'll do is draw like an actual star, and you can play around with the nodes if you want to. I will adjust this one just so that it like actually touches there, but then what we're going to do is we're going to finally use like the outline feature. So I'm going to make this a little bit, you want the general shape that you like, and then what I'm going to do is tap on this and tap outline, and in here you can start to like delete all of these nodes that are in the center that you really don't want. So you want to make sure that you're just getting the actual nodes though, and not like the whole thing. So you have to get a square node and just delete that. So another thing that you can do realistically is just kind of like, I don't know, take one of these like I just did. I took one of these arms, one of these control arms, and I just pulled it down so that it fills that empty space. And now we just have like a star. There you go. Or alternatively, you could take, you know, when you're drawing this, it really depends on the star shape that you want, but you can also just make it so that it crosses and there's no like, there is no space. Do you know what I mean? You've made it so there's no space in between. And you can make these arched if you want, like whatever you're going for. Again, stylistic choices here. This is one of the reasons why sometimes I will make my fonts in Affinity Designer, and I will have one day, I will have some bonus lessons on that, or maybe that's when I'll finally like do a proper course. But it's a lot easier to add these shapes together using a program like Affinity Designer. It's just a little bit more professional, and then you can bring them into this app and you can configure your font in here, but you can actually make the designs in Affinity Designer. It'll just give you more like graphic design control. There's just more that you can do with it. So if you took my sticker making course, you might be able to already figure out how you can go from Affinity Designer here, but that's not what the purpose of today's video is. So maybe someday in the future, I'll see if I can do it on a live. Otherwise, I'll fit it into like a proper font making course. But I love Affinity Designer, and I think it is the best way to like get yourself into the world of graphic design. I think it's so much fun. I highly recommend it. Okay, I want to move these up a little bit. And we are just getting so close to getting to some of the other final touches. I'm so excited. Okay, I'm happy enough with that star. Let's go ahead and grab, I think what we're going to do is probably use the crossbar from this E. Actually, let's copy all here. We're going to make this work. We're going to paste all of this. Whoa, that's not what I copied. Let's copy all from the E. Try that again. And let's paste it. Okay. Now, obviously, you know, I'm not using all of this, but we're going to delete the top and bottom here. I'm going to move this over, and then we can just try to keep the angle consistent enough and bring this over here. And I think that'll do. I might bring this up just a little bit. And then we will copy this one. I think the next one, it's not. Okay, here it is. There, our hyphen or our minus sign. Let's see if there's another one. Oh, we'll need it for the equal sign. So we're gonna paste this one here, but then we wanna use this crossbar that we used earlier for like our T, which will be the upper part of our equal sign. And we're gonna paste it. We just need to move it over And I'm going to stagger them just like a little bit because this is an angled font. So just keeping that in mind. And then, is there anything else that I can use? Okay, no, I don't think so. We're going to come back to this E, and we're going to grab this bottom one and copy it. And for our underscore here, this one down here, I am going to paste this E, and then, or the bottom of the E, and I am going to drop this down. I don't want it to come all the way down to the descender line, just a, I don't know, personal choice, I guess. But I'm going to bring it between the baseline and that descender line. And now let's come back. Here is our comma. So for consistency purposes, I'm going to come back up here to one of these apostrophes and copy this. And I'm going to paste this here. And then we're just going to, whoops, not do that. We're going to drag the whole shape down, down here. And this will be our comma. And then we want to copy that. And I'm going to move, whoops. Nope. Okay, I guess we have to zoom in. I was being stubborn and hoping to not zoom in. But this is our period. We did 2 of these already, so we're gonna, I think, maybe about here and here. If you want to bring over one of the stems that we copied and pasted before, you can, just so things stay in line. Wouldn't be a bad idea, to be honest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste that one here, and let's go ahead and grab one of these stems just to make sure. We're going to come back to this colon and we're going to paste it. And actually, I think I did a good job of staying consistent, but you can also just move these over so that they're like right in the center there. And that is pretty perfect. So we're going to delete this. Here we're going to copy all, and we want to bring these over to our semicolon, and we're going to paste them. And then I'm just going to move this piece here. And I think I will just delete that top part there. But now we know that's all in line. Everything looks great. And this one is another one of those ones like with the parentheses where I run into issues trying to keep things consistent. So I will do the same thing with like the guides, where I try to use the guide to make sure that everything is good. But we're just going to draw our little sideways V shape. We're going to clean this up. Wow, look at that. That is such a messy vector. So I'm going to tap on the squares and delete those. I don't want all that mess. I'm going to make this more upright and make it so that these arms are about the same distance on the top and bottom. We're going to delete this one and delete this extra one. And then we're going to take this circular node for the control arm there and just straighten that out. All right, so once these are pretty even and I am happy, I am going to, I don't think I want it quite that big. Again, stylistic choice. I think this is better. So I'm going to copy this. We're going to bring it over here, and we are going to paste it, and I'm going to paste it twice. We're going to do the same thing that I did before, and we'll just delete the one that we don't end up needing. So I'm going to paste it twice, and what we're going to do is just take the red box and just kind of reverse it. We're going to line these up. So I can see like that would be lined up, right? Or that one goes out a little bit further. So we just want to kind of keep it as close to inline as possible with this side. And then we can use the red box again to help us find where this needs to go. So use that grid that's underneath. Try your best to keep things as consistent as possible. And then you just want to make sure it's placed properly. So a little higher up is where mine needed to be. And then we'll just delete that. So now this one's facing the right direction. We're gonna, oops, man, every time. We gotta zoom back in, bring this down, and if you want these to be perfectly consistent, right, as we probably do, you can paste this here. I'm gonna delete this one. And let's draw in our question mark. Stylistic choice, again, do what feels good. I think I want this maybe in a little bit. Again, you could always copy and paste one of your stems and see, does this angle feel consistent? Sometimes it's hard to see like an overview of the whole font and know without checking it in like other ways, which we'll get to later. And so I do find it easiest to just paste one of these lines in, and then I can look and say like, okay, does this feel accurate? And I would say no, I don't think it does. So I'm just going to move this over. There's a lot of like visual, playing around and seeing, like I said, what feels right, what feels consistent with the font. But you can help yourself, in ways by using these tools. So to me, I think this fits the angle a bit better. And so I'm going to delete that. And actually, what I might do is undo that and copy all, and I'll delete this. And we'll come down to some of our Latin characters, and we'll get to our upside down question mark. This will be fun. And we are going to paste. And then we want to come to this gesture to scale or rotate menu, and we're just going to use our 2 fingers and try to rotate. Bring that up. We didn't want to change the size at all, so you didn't want to like pinch in or out. You just wanted to rotate. And let's undo that. And let's just paste one more time. And what I'm going to do is delete these extra pieces that I didn't need, except for this, the angled one, the angled one. You know what I mean, right? This one. That would make more sense. Sometimes I'm just at a loss for words, so me doing lives is a terrible idea because I'm a horrible speaker. But I can see already by looking at this that these aren't quite at the exact angle. They're pretty close, so I can like move this over, but they're not as close as like the other one that I rotated earlier. So I am going to copy this one, and I'm going to delete it now that I've copied it. And then I know that, actually, let me check and see how I need to rotate this. Okay, so the rest of this has to go just a little bit this way. So we are going to delete this. We're going to come back to trying to rotate it, and we're just going to give a little rotate. And let's paste that angled one again and see, maybe I went a little bit too far. So it's up to you, like really how picky you want to be here. Let's try again. Okay, and that's pretty perfect. That I'm okay with. So now I'll just delete this, and I am going to just bring this down to that descender line. Okay, that makes me very happy. That I'm good with. Let's come up to our @ symbol, and I'm just gonna draw this one and just clean it up a little bit and make sure that, I don't know, I think I'm gonna have this one kind of go where the underscore went, so just a little bit between that baseline and the descender. And then I might bring this one, I'm gonna delete that one, bring this one out. I'm just gonna clean that up a little, like I said. Okay. I don't love that, so let's fix this a little. Okay, that looks good to me. And then, oof. Am I happy with this? I think we're going to steal the angle from the percent sign. So let's come up to that percent sign we made. Let's grab this and copy it. And we're going to do this for our, what are they? Wow. For our slash, forward slash. All right, and then I'm just going to move this over. Okay, I swear, my words are hard. Like, sometimes you just can't do it. We're going to do that same thing that we were doing before. They really need just like a flip feature. Do you have any idea how happy I would be if they just had a flip feature? I suppose the other option is just to rotate it completely, but then you could really do any angle, and that's not that helpful. So, yeah, I think I just deleted that one. So let's move it over. And we're just going to do that same thing where we see where this falls. So I need it to come over here, just a little bit over that guide. And I need to size it out to that guide. There we go. This probably would have been a great way to make my X. Maybe we'll do that later if I find out that what we made doesn't work. Oops, I did the wrong one. Let's delete this one. And copy it. Was there something else that I needed this for? I don't think so. All right. I've got one more, no, two more to do like that. That same process where you like copy and paste it and flip it. Least favorite thing ever. Yeah, so let's see. I am going to try to keep this as one shape rather than two because I think it's going to make it easier for me when I'm flipping them. But I do want this to come up to my ascender line and down to the descender line. I may change my mind. I may decide I want it like halfway. But I definitely want it to come up to the ascender line. Okay, we're going to copy this and we're going to paste it twice. You guys should know this at this point now. We've done this how many times? And then we also do need to rotate it. So let's bring this on over. Actually, what I might do is, yeah, let's rotate it. Let's copy this one and paste it. I think what we're gonna do is we're just gonna make sure that it's the right width first. So I need it to come basically over to this yellow line. And then I need this part to be in just a little bit. Only just a little bit. Again, using these guides. You want to just take the furthest point and the furthest point on both sides, right? And just line them up. So now I know it's the right size. So now I can just angle it so that the angle matches. And then we'll have to move it down within our guides. But yeah, this basically gives you the mirror image of that. And that's what I want. So we'll move it back over here and then delete the one that we don't need. Okay. Excellent. Let's see now. Okay. We'll just do this one. It's going to be a little angled. I'm going to zoom in a little and just, I can tell that I needed to move that just a little bit. Like I said, we were going to do one more like this. This is going to be our bracket. So let's take this and I am just going to, I think what I'm going to do is move this up a little. No, just move. It's not working. I just need to move it. No. Technical issues on camera. So fun. Okay. I'm going to use this angle here, just guide it, and I'm going to try to have this about the same width as the bracket, or as, yeah, that other cute little bracket that we did, the squiggly one. And then I just want to try to match that angle of the one that's underneath. And then you can, of course, you can zoom in here. And I want it to come up to the A center line, and I want, I just want this to be straight. Let's check on that bottom one and see if the bottom one is straight. There. You can also, if you want to move these control arms separately, you can put one finger down on the screen, and that'll allow you to get like a sharper corner. So useful tip. Okay, and now I'm just going to take this because it's one piece, and I'm just going to move it over a little bit, and we're going to delete that one that's underneath. Then I can move this back, and we can copy this, bring it over here to this bracket, and we're going to paste it and do what we did before. Paste it twice. Use the red box here, and we want to make sure that these are the same size. So an easy way to do this actually is, because you can see what's underneath, is just make sure that those top, like that top part of the bracket is the same. So that looks pretty good to me. That makes me pretty confident that the rest of this is going to be fine. This would actually start to make like a pretty cool A. But yeah, so now we've got to do a little rotation here. I actually think this would be best to do like we did with the question mark, where you flip it that way. So let's do that. I'm going to flip it from top to bottom and then continue to rotate it. And so now we want to make sure, basically we're going to kind of just mimic what we did before. So I'm going to make sure these nodes here are the same, like the same width, and we're just follow those. Just basically copy them. And I'm going to take this one and make it sharp, so put one finger down to do that, and same with this bottom one. And just drag them in. It doesn't have to be exact, but should be good. We're going to delete that one, so I don't need that one. And I'm just going to double check by dragging this over to make sure that these angles are basically the same, and they are. So I'm just going to undo that and delete this one. So now I've got a good like mirror image of that bracket. I really struggled with the brackets when I first started because I didn't get how I could like have a sort of like mirror image. And so this is my workaround. This is how I figured that out. Otherwise I would use, like I said, Affinity Designer or something to actually design it, or Adobe Illustrator, which is what I used before I discovered Affinity Designer. And like this is just, it's way more beginner friendly. Affinity Designer, chef's kiss. I love it. But yeah, if you don't want to get Affinity Designer, or you're not ready to tackle that yet, these are the tips that I would have for trying to mirror them in this app, because that is definitely one of the places that it falls short. The mirroring and the lack of like magnetic snapping so that it stays in line. Those are my biggest complaints. Other than that, I think it's a really great program. I might just copy one of these for this carrot. We're going to paste it and then just rotate it. Sometimes I like for these to be a little bit smaller, but actually I think I do want it smaller. So I'm going to take one of the ones in the corner and just make it a little smaller. All right, we've got our underscore. These all look great. We just need to do this little squiggle. And you can play around with these until you're happy. You guys, this is it. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time. I will do like a brief intro to the next section, but we'll just jump into the kerning. and that's where we'll finish, so it won't be much longer. But I do want to give you a heads up in case you do want to add more Latin characters. So this might be all that you see. Like, you might not have seen where I did the upside down question mark if you didn't add those. The way you add the other character sets is tapping on this sphere, and then you can add in different extensions, different accents, different character sets. So you can turn all them on. Over the years, when I first started, I didn't do basically any of these other characters. And then after having some best-selling fonts on Etsy, I would get messages from people in Poland and people in like Spain or France or wherever. Like, people were messaging me and they were saying, "Hi, we really love your font, but it doesn't have these accents. Could you add these accents?" And so I started making all of my fonts available with a lot of different European sets. And so most of them are in here, but I would say that, like, just listen to your customers if you're not doing this for yourself. If you're doing this for yourself and you only speak English and you don't need all these other characters, then, like, you don't have to spend the extra time. But if you want to sell these and you want it to be inclusive to other markets, then you can either start like I did and then just listen to people and add as they go, or what you can do is start with just adding like a basic like Latin accent. It's a good place to start. And the nice thing about this app is actually, so you'd have to draw some of these symbols because they're not going to be ones that are just like regular accented characters. But a lot of them, like, let's get over here to this A. For example, when you tap on the little scissors, you can paste or you can paste from A. So I would go through and I would paste from A for all of the Latin accents that I wanted to add. And you can do that. I mean, it goes all the way through, like all of the uppercase and lowercase, and you can paste from those. And then you can take the accent. For example, I've drawn this little accent and I've pasted from O, right? So once you get it in like the proper placement, then what I can do is I can copy this, and for any of the other letters that have that same accent, I can paste it, and then I can tap paste from A. And now, like, I'm starting to build that Latin alphabet. So this is a really, really helpful way where it kind of just automatically does it for you. Like, it helps. Definitely helps. So you'll copy the accent, and then you'll paste it, and then you'll also click paste from A, paste from C, paste from whatever. And then there will be a few more that you have to draw by yourself, but that really speeds up the process. It's a really, really helpful thing. Yeah, so I would definitely say that's a good place to start if you want to make it more inclusive. Okay, up next. So we're going to skip this part, skip going through all the accents because I've kind of showed you how you can add them in. But what we're going to do is we're going to start the kerning process, and this is where we're going to finish our lesson today. And this basically covers like everything. So kerning is the spacing between the letters, but you can also adjust the general tracking, which is the letter spacing here. You can decide, do you want a font that is more spaced out? Do you want one that is more close together? And you're just going to find like a general spacing that works for most of the letters, but not all of them, because you will have to go in and adjust the spacing between all of the letters. And this is one of the things that takes the most time of all when it comes to making a font, because you really want to try to get every single possible combination of these letters. So there are some built-in options here that help you, but like, let's say I'm happy with most of these. The numbers obviously look terrible, but we can fix those. The rest of the letters, generally speaking, pretty decent, so I think this is a good starting point. What you'll do is you just go in with your stylus and you just drag the rest of the letters that don't look right. You drag them to look good. One of the key things, I think I will fix the angle of that Y because I don't like it. You will keep these things in mind too as you're doing this, like what works and what doesn't work. It won't let you adjust next to a space. So like I can't bring this F closer to that E because that's actually the space. So if you get that little like yellow exclamation point, it's telling you like, no, that you can't adjust that. That is not something you have control over. But yeah, so you're just gonna do this for all of the letters. And one of the biggest tips that was most helpful for me visually when it came to kerning a font was what you want to imagine is maybe like a pitcher of water or a pitcher of sand or something like that you can pour in between the letters. So it's not about having the exact spacing between each letter the same, because that's going to lead to some really wonky spacing or visually spacing, you know. What you want is to consider that, like, let's say the space between this L and this W is not based on the end of the L and the beginning of the W, because that is, like, there's not a lot of space there. But if I did that same spacing between the R and the Y, you can see how far away the L and the W look, because the L is very open on this outside part, and the W is very, like, it reaches more in, I don't know, if you're imagining things as like a square, like the W is angled this way, but the L has this whole open space. So you want to move the W closer than you would, for example, like the R. Like LR is going to have different spacing than LW because that W has that arm that like reaches in. So instead, you want to try to match the spacing. So it looks like if you could pour the same amount of liquid between these, like into the gap, that it would hold it like a vase. So you're thinking about the volume that it can hold rather than like the spacing in between. I hope I'm explaining that in a way that makes sense. But that was one of the biggest things that helped me visually when it came to spacing out my fonts. So it's not about the digital number, like the exact number of space. So like you can actually see this. This says like 105. Well, if I make this 105, let's get down to 105. It doesn't quite work. So if I move this one, let's make this one 105. That T and that A look way too spaced apart. So I need to bring this A in a little bit closer so that it doesn't look like there's such a massive gap. I hope I'm explaining that in a way that makes sense to you. So definitely, like this A here obviously needs to come in further. This W needs to come out a little bit. So you'll go through, you'll do all of this for the font. Every combination you can think of. When you tap the word select here, you can switch to different letter combinations. And so you'll just start to, like, and I probably should have maybe looked at this one first, and I would have seen, oh, I'm having trouble grabbing that L. But yeah, I would have seen that actually most of these are too close together, so I probably should have moved these out first, and then I could adjust the other one. So it does help seeing more like actual words. So why don't I set this to the default? Let's come, that is crazy spaced out. Let's come to this one, the think about it. Oops. And I can see, okay, I don't want this that spaced out. So this is going to give me a good idea of how close I want most of the letters to be. And then I can go through and just start fixing it. So this is not my favorite process because I really do prefer using professional programs for this. I use Glyphs. There is a program called Glyphs Mini, and you can use that for free. I can already see a few things in here that I might want to adjust. Like I think I might want the I to be a little bit shorter, the lowercase I. And I think I might either bring the first part of the U down a little bit so it is the same height as like the O and the curve of the A and the Q, Or maybe I will bring all those stems down a little bit, but I don't quite think that's what I want. But let's say, so if you move the V closer to the E, any other place where an E is followed by a V, it will automatically save that and adjust it. And this, again, this is a time where you're going to start to really look at your font, and you're going to see what you like, what you don't like, and you can always just go back and you can edit some of those characters. But generally speaking, this is what you're going to do. I'm not going to sit here and kern this whole font because it takes a long time. But I also have saved, I've gone on and I've Googled like a ton of text for kerning. So I have all of these different combinations, even of things like Latin extensions, these little symbols and things that I wouldn't normally use on my keyboard. And I have collected this big giant list of text, and I will place them in like paragraph by paragraph, and I will kern them and make sure that everything has the proper spacing. So again, this is the thing that takes the most time of all when you're making a font. I suppose unless you're doing like a really detailed like graphic font, then the design process will take a really long time. But when you're just doing a handwritten font, the kerning is really what takes like all of your time. So I would just say that it's going to take you a while, but that's okay. So try to take as many combinations of lettering as possible, so that you can make sure the font works in as many cases as possible. And then this is where we're going to finish off. We're going to hit done here. Let's imagine that we just spent hours and hours and hours fixing every single combination of this so that our font is perfect and ready to use for anybody who wants to use it. Then all you have to do is you are going to hit the share and export button. So you're going to hit this, and then what you're going to do is you can tap configure and build font. And then this is where you can name your font. So I'm gonna name it unfinished because I still need to come in and finish this, and then I will republish it as something else. But you can put your name here. Let's make that a capital T. What am I thinking? Terrible art. And then you can do it publicly and make this font available publicly. I like to keep mine private because I sell mine. And so you could add in other information if you want, but really what you want to do is just hit build online. It's going to prepare everything. It's going to take a little bit of time, and then it will give you this URL that you can go to, and it gives you a web pin as well. So you can click on this, and then you can open it, and it will take you to the website, but you can also immediately download the desktop font version of this or install it as an iOS font. So I'm just going to hit open, and it already, because I used the link that it came with, it already has the pin, and so you're just going to hit enter, and it's going to log you in, and this is what the font looks like. Obviously, we know, like I said, I did not sit here and kern everything, so this is not perfect. But you can see, like it's going to be a cute font when it's done. Once I fix all the spacing issues, this font is going to look so cute. I'm really excited. But yeah, so you'll get this, and then you'll just tap download, and you can download it as a TTF or an OTF. So both of these are font file types that will work. I tend to do OTF. It's my preference when it comes to a font file type, but you can also offer both and then let people choose. It's completely up to you. But yeah, you just download it and then you install it. I have a video about installing fonts onto your iPad if you don't know how to do that, but you have to install them as profiles. It's the same if you're installing on your phone. So it's a whole process. It's kind of obnoxious, but it's a lot easier to install on a desktop. These files, TTFs and OTFs, work for all of those devices. So yeah, that's the process using iFontMaker from start to finish. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments. You can reach out to me personally. I'm always happy to help. But that's where we're going to leave this series. And I think the next time I do a font video, it might include using Affinity Designer to make some special characters. Maybe I'll show you guys how I made like my Halloween font or something, or maybe I'll do like a new one. Maybe I'll do like a Valentine's Day font or something. I don't know. But we're going to do something really fun. It'll be cute. And yeah, I'll I am gonna, once I finish this, I will upload it to my freebie vault. And if you want, I will leave a link for you to sign up for my freebie vault, and then you can use the password that I'll send you in an email, and you can download this font for free. Not yet, it's not finished, but when it's finished. So even if you sign up now, you can always check back later, since it's obviously not uploaded yet. But you can check back later, and you can access anything in my freebie vault. And yeah, you just have, all you have to do is just hear from me like once a month via email. So if it's not too painful, I would love to have you in my newsletter, and you can get access to all the little freebies. I'm really excited about this font. I think this is going to be so cute. Yeah, okay, that's enough babbling for now. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. I hope you learned something new and fun. I hope you were able to make a font in the process here. And if you do make a font using iFontMaker and following this, you can tag me on whatever social media, TikTok for now, for at least the next 90 days. We'll see what happens. Instagram. I am on Instagram, though I'm trying to distance myself from Meta at the moment. But technically, I'm still there for now. You can message me. You can reach out to me on YouTube, via email, on Patreon. I'm thinking about starting a Discord community because, again, just trying to get off of Meta. And I like YouTube, but I don't feel like I can have the conversations I want to have just because I feel a little distant. Like, I feel together, but I feel distant. So I'm thinking maybe a Discord community would be really great for messaging. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. If you have an opinion, feel free to chime in. Let me know. But I want more community. TikTok's at risk, and Meta is poop, and Twitter X is poop. I am on Blue Sky now, but not enough people are on it. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm thinking maybe Discord. Anyway, that's all for now. Thank you guys again for tuning in. I love you so much. As always, you guys are the best. I'm getting all words. I'm done. Words are too hard. Thank you, especially to my Patreon patrons, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Love you. Bye.